With the holidays coming up, it's thinking ahead to the things that your neurodivergent child may struggle with and the support they might need. The contrast between holiday time and school time can be really difficult for our children and young people who are neurodivergent. So school time is very structured. They know timetables, where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to do, and how to behave in those situations. So having much more unstructured time throughout the holiday can be a bit tricky for some of our children and young people. So how best can we support them? Well, we can give as much information as we can about what's going to happen, who's going to be there, how long it's going to last. So I like to use my own children visual support. So I put up a calendar, if you will, about this day is a quiet day where we can choose what happens. This day we're going to go and see Granny and Grandad. This day we're going to go to the zoo. So thinking ahead about the sorts of things that you have planned and which ones you can foresee as a parent or carer that will potentially be causing any issues. So if you know that a trip to see Granny and Grandad, where they're on their best behaviour all day, is going to be quite overwhelming for them, probably put in something that you know that they will really enjoy, maybe a quiet cinema trip or a duvet day the next day, so they can decompress. So try to spread those things out. I know the temptation is, as a parent, to try and cram as much fun activities as you can throughout the holidays, but you may find it better to stagger things that you know that your children may particularly struggle with activities you know that will be a really good way for them to decompress and soothe themselves back down. So thinking about giving them visual timetables, whether you've got a poster or a calendar on the wall, or if they're older teens, for example, thinking about putting a shared Google calendar or something in so that they know what is when. Giving them as much information in advance about what is going to happen. So if you are going around somewhere that you've not been before, perhaps you can look it up on the internet, find some photos or go on a website of an activity that you're going on, for example, to try and answer as much questions as you can. I find it always useful to work in some plan Bs as well. So this is what we're planning on doing, but it may be that the car journey takes longer. It may be that the train is delayed. So what we could do if the train's delayed is we could try doing this or this and coming up with some plan Bs or plan Cs so that they know that things aren't necessarily set in stone, and having those little backups. So we're planning on going to this cafe where this is the menu. However, if the cafe's closed or they don't have your favourite dish, here are some other things that we can do. So sometimes it can be easier to go for big chain restaurants because there's much more predictability in the menu, for example, but it's not necessarily always what you want for your children to be eating every day. But it's always good to have as a backup, so we can say we're trying this new place, but if something goes wrong, we've always got this backup to fall back on. So it's demonstrating as well through your own behaviour how you are dealing calmly with setbacks. That can really help set the emotional tone for the journey. So if you're going to a long car journey or train journey, for example, and there's much more traffic or you're going to miss a connection, the way that you respond will have a knock-on effect to how your children respond. So if you can say, actually, do you know what, this just means our holiday is going to last a little bit longer, or why don't we play the rainbow car game on the way, so let's see if we can spot a red car and then an orange car and that sort of thing. So the way that you deal with those small setbacks will help to set that tone with your youngsters as well. So thinking about getting as much information to them in an age-appropriate way, doing as much detective work. You can say, right, we're going to do some detective work about where we're going, how long it's going to take, and especially for younger children or ADHDers who may have time blindness, you can relate lengths of time to things that they know. So we're going to go to visit Granny and Grandad, and it's going to take the same amount of time as 3 break times at school, or the whole of lunchtime, or it's going to take us 3 episodes of a cartoon that they watch, for example. So an idea that they might understand to avoid those, are we there yet? Are we nearly there yet? Sort of questions that can be triggering for our own anxieties and worries. So keeping that nice and calm, demonstrating actually we can do our plan B, and if the plan B doesn't work, we can do this. And if it's raining, then we can do that. So we can think through those sorts of things. We can make those plans, but it's demonstrating that those plans can be flexible and they can change.